Hello, I'm Wendy. Here's a picture of a bluebell wood that I painted this spring. We're going to have a go at a little exercise, painting one of those ivy-covered trees. I'll demonstrate a wet into wet background first before putting the detail onto the tree. After damping the paper, I'm working on the top area of the picture at the moment, just putting a wet into wet background on above what's going to be the bluebell wood, using a mixture of cadmium yellow with a little bit of ultramarine. You can vary the greens and the yellows in this area. As you can see, I'm wetting the foreground area with some clean water, and then I'm going to put on a very sort of distant bluebell wood. Colours I'm using, ultramarine, and again that's going to be varied a little bit by adding a red. I think I used cadmium red in this case, but any red would do. I'm continuing here to add some bluebell colour. Working wet into wet because you've wet the background, and just varying the colours of the bluebells, and then you'll see I'll start putting some greens in there as well, because there'll be some grass obviously at the background between them. Working down towards the base of the tree, not mixing the colours too much, otherwise they'll all blend into each other. Here I'm working at the base of the tree, and I'm going to put in the same colours as I've used above, but mix them quite a lot stronger so we can bring the foreground forward. As you can see, I'm mixing cadmium yellow, putting the ultramarine in there, and we're getting quite a dark green. Here again we're mixing some stronger colour for the bluebells in the foreground, using the same colours, and the paper should still be quite damp. What I'm doing here is putting on the light foliage with a mixture of raw sienna and a little bit of ultramarine. You can vary it, as you can see as I'm mixing on the palette above. You can vary the greens so that you sort of ring the changes. Nothing is looking exactly the same. That makes the picture very boring. You have to put the light foliage on first in watercolour, of course, because you can't paint light over dark. Once the light foliage is dried practically, then I'm going to put a very dark green on here that's basically going to stand for the ivy on the tree. Again, you can see I'm mixing the same colours, the cadmium yellow and ultramarine, but in order to vary this and maybe to stop it appearing too cold, you can see I'm adding some brown in there, which will be burnt sienna. So again, you can vary the green and also warm it up a little bit. working on the trunk of the tree now, and I'm starting off by putting just a little undercoat on of burnt sienna, just pure burnt sienna. A lot of that may not show at the very end, but it will make a difference and it will make the colours a little bit more interesting. I'm then mixing a dark to put into there with the burnt sienna and the ultramarine. As you can see, I'm just dotting the browns in between the ivy and the foliage that we put on earlier. In order to mix a very strong brown, again, as you can see from above, you have to use a very, very thick mix of the ultramarine with the burnt sienna. What I'm doing now is just adding a little bit more form to the base of the tree by pulling out some of the paint. Because I'm working wet into wet, I can afford to do this, but as soon as the paint starts really getting dry, then you must stop, otherwise you'll really overwork the picture. Now comes the really fun bit, which should bring the little picture together. That's putting on all the little twigs and the branches onto the tree. I like to use a rigger to do this, a number 2 or a number 3, and you can see I work from the base of the little twigs and work upwards. You have to mix a good pool of strong colour in order to do this and really load up the rigger. If you lift the rigger as you come to the end of the branches, then you will get a thinner line. It takes quite a lot of practice to do this, but it's well worth getting to grips with it. Keep your brush strokes nice and loose and keep an eye on your reference, but remember you've not got to copy your reference, you've not got to put every branch and every twig in exactly the same place. It's almost finished now, so it's just a question of knowing when to stop. Stop. I really hope you enjoyed looking at some of these techniques and that you'll be able to use them and adapt them in your own work. Here's another example of an ivy covered tree, worked in exactly the same way, just has a little bit more detail in the background.